Hey, this is Henry Sanders with another episode of Real Talk. We want to thank our sponsors at Park Bank. Thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you for always supporting us and letting us have this wonderful platform to give out this content that we're doing. If you want more of this content, make sure you go to our YouTube page or go to wherever you get your podcast content. Check us out. We have a lot of wonderful interviews. So today, I know his mama, right? So his mom, Miss Mack. So I respect his mom. And so since I respect his mom, and I respect his sisters, his dad, like all of them, right? His sisters, I respect the whole family. And out of respect for the family, I said I would bring this black man on to talk to him, especially because Miss Mack, she's just an icon to me. I just respect her so much that our favor to her and her family, I said I would bring on this guy. Now, some of y'all know him. If y'all been in Madison, some of y'all know him. He went to one of these high schools in Madison. We won't name the school. We won't name the school. It wasn't East. Okay. We won't name the school.
Of course it wasn't East.
It definitely was not East. Okay, so we won't name that. He is also a former Badger, a football player. I think he was a captain, middle linebacker. I don't know if that means he's aggressive. I don't know. We have to ask him about that too. So
only a non-athlete would say something like that.
See. Now, non-athlete, like I keep telling you, I was boxing.
I know you did pickleball in the 80s. I know it was a big deal. I know you was like third in the state. I get it.
Yeah.
It wasn't a real sport.
Boxing is not a real sport?
You weren't a boxer. Mike Tyson's punch-out don't count.
Oh, wow.
Just move on.
Wow.
Let's get to your journalistic acumen.
Wow.
Talk about that.
Listen. So I was, boxing.
It's gonna mess up your sponsorship. Don't start cursing.
See, I don't curse, Mama. I don't curse, Mama. But anyways, okay, all right. As you can tell, this is why. See, Miss Mack, I'm doing this for you because I love you, Miss Mack. I'm okay. Anyways, Jeff Mack, Madisonian, ex-Badger, ex-Regent, Park Bank.
Regent for life. So just chill out. I know you don't care about your East High School after you.
I'm a pergola. What are you talking about? Pergola.
I'm not an ex-Regent. This is gonna be the quickest interview.
So, seriously though, Jeff Mack here. He's a friend of mine. This is like my dude, right? So honestly, as y'all can tell, and I was excited about bringing Jeff on for lots of reasons. One, because he's a Madisonian, people need to hear that perspective. But he's had a career, I think, of excellence, and he's achieved a lot in his career. And being a black man, that's not always the easiest thing to do. And he kind of makes it look easy, right? And I want to talk to him about his growing up here. And, I know he's at the bank. I know his real estate stuff. So I know he has lots of different interests, and he's been successful at all of them. So I want to figure out how he did it. So tell me about you. So you grew up in Madison. You were born in Madison, right? Were you born in Madison or Chicago? Madison.
I was born in Madison. Born on the east side. Born in St. Mary's. I grew up on the east side of Madison. And parents, both my parents are from Chicago. They grew up. They met each other in high school. Became high school sweethearts, and the rest is history. But yeah, no, I grew up in Madison. Went to Frank Alice Elementary School and Senate Middle School, and then West High School, and then went to Wisconsin.
Okay, and growing up, and your dad, correct me, right? Your dad was a Badger too, right? He played football.
Yep.
Did he play football?
My dad came in on a football scholarship. He played at Farragut, and then went to, and then came to Wisconsin. And then he got a job right out of school, and then Mom came up here, I think for her master's, got her master's at Wisconsin. UW-Madison, and then and then she started working right away. They both started working right away. So my sister, I have an older sister than myself. I'm a middle child, and then I have a younger sister.
You're not gonna name their names? Like, you ain't gonna give your sisters like
Yeah,
shout outs?
yeah, yeah. Oh no, I didn't know how. I don't know how this works, man. So Micah Mack, my older sister, and then Anisha Mack is my younger, and I'm Jeff Jr.
Yeah. Okay. The least talented out the bunch.
That's
okay.
right.
So you grew up in Madison, and so for you to listen to this outside of Madison, Madison is a majority white population, and when Jeff, I guess when you were growing up, it was probably changed a little bit. Like you weren't like the only black guy in the schools, right? Because you went to Frank Alice, so what couldn't have been?
No, I wasn't the only brother in class. That's a good question. In class, most of the time I was, but my parents did something I think that's instrumental in my growth and in my progression. Was the one thing Frank Alice. So I was out of district when I went to Frank Alice, but where Frank Alice they had the most black teachers. So my parents did their due diligence and made every attempt possible to make sure I went to the school that had the most black teachers. So for me, like being honest, like from kindergarten to 8th grade, I had 6 black teachers. You know what I mean? So I had first grade, my teacher was black. Second grade, my teacher was black. Third grade, my teacher was black. 5th grade, my teacher was black. And 6th through 8th grade, my teachers were black. And so for me, it was, while I might have been the only kid of color in the classroom, the classroom was run and orchestrated by a woman or a man of color. So I never felt out of place because the educator I had a connection with, and again, we can go deeper into that at a different point in time, or if you want, I can, but just the idea of representation and how that matters is in the sense of I feel comfortable being in that space and speaking how I want to speak, and knowing that my voice is not going to be, whether perceived or not perceived, it's not going to be drowned out because that teacher recognizes my talent.
I think that's powerful, man.
Yeah, no, I know. I think it was instrumental to my success in school because again, I mean, I'm a kid. Back then, I mean, obviously I was a kid, and I didn't. School was a necessary event. It was, you meet friends there. But my best friends I still have. Actually, my best friend I met in first grade or kindergarten, Darius Ward, and then from there. But most of my friends I grew up and kind of really still are really close with are all from sports. So I played on the South Side. I played for the South Side Raiders and the South Madison Spartans. Basketball, football for the Raiders.
Played basketball? I know that. I know you played.
Yeah. I think I made all city. I think I might have been third team all city, which I think there's only like 40 players. So I was in the top 15, I guess. But that was weird. That was old. That was my senior year. But I was okay. I was decent player.
That's good. So you're a decent athlete then. Like that's good to hear, man. Like you're a decent. That's good.
I find this always hilarious. And so it's interesting. This topic. I had a good friend of mine, nicknamed DK, and I was running I had to go run back and go grab something out of my room. I came back. He's like, man, yeah, you run like you like a decent athlete. And I think it's always hilarious. Like I did play at a college level. Like why y'all keep thinking like I'm not a decent? Am I just not fat? Did I get fat? I got fat, didn't I?
No, that's not. I mean, I'm just,
What happened? I mean,
we're just. Look, Barry was. I don't want to hurt your feelings
Barry
right now.
Recruiting anybody?
He was. I mean, they were trying to. They needed them numbers. You know what I mean? I don't want to.
You were just trying to get our numbers up. Yo, coming from the pickleball champion '89, this is some messed up stuff, dog.
Yo, hey, stop that. Stop that. Wait, stop that. First, people, look. I was the boxing. Look, this is Midwest champ, rate number 4. I was when I was okay. So I'm not.
So let's stop all that conversation. You want to tell your people the truth. So one of the things that I when I first started in my profession in banking, my biggest thing was, there's a branding component. Whenever you're in sales, there's a branding component, and it's about how do people recognize you? Do they recognize your name? Do they recognize your talent? So on and so forth. And so when you're coming from a sports background, your name is recognizable because Wisconsin is such a big draw, especially the football side, from a football perspective. And so for me, I knew that, and I knew that was one of the reasons why I wanted to stay in Madison. I also felt like I had a good network. When I say network, I'm talking about personally, I had a good friend network. Like my best friends today are still my best friends from yesteryear. But what my fear was that I was going to only be known for my football prowess and not for my business acumen. And so I had this thing in my head. I remember writing down notes, and you write down like your goals and stuff. And I wanted by year 3 of being in banking, I wanted to make sure that, like right now at that time in 2004 when I first started, 2004 when I started in banking, I knew people would say, "Hey, that's Jeff. He played football, but he also is a banker," right? I wanted by year 3 to people to say, "Hey, that's Jeff the banker. Do you know he also played football?" So I wanted that.
Jeff, did you strategically think that though? I mean, was that your plan?
Yeah. That was my plan because I knew how my branding was going to. I thought my assumption was that my branding was going to work in that capacity.
So I want to stop over Jeff for a second though. So I think this is important to break down. You were playing football for UW Badgers, captain. Like you guys were Rose Bowl. I think you guys were Rose Bowl, right? You guys were Rose Bowl.
Yeah. That my freshman year they went to Rose Bowl.
Okay. Yeah. So you're part of a team, a well-known team. Everyone respects UW Badgers. You come out of there, and you're telling me you're strategically thinking, here's my brand. I know what my brand awareness. I know what my brand is, but I also know I have to change my brand in the next 3 years. I mean, you were thinking that at that young of an age?
Yeah. I mean, yes. Yeah. I mean, I think I just knew that, you can't rest on the laurels of yesterday. I mean, if sports tells you anything or teaches you anything, it's the idea of that, you have to maintain a level of humbleness, right? You have to maintain a level of understanding of where you're at in your specific time, and then what your goals can be, and then what failures actually really consist of, and how failures actually help you achieve your goals. And to kind of be more speak to the point that you're talking about, you understand through sports, like, hey, you might have a bad game last week, but that can't define you for next week. You can have a bad play, one play. You can't be defined by that play. So you have to continue to strive toward your goal. And what my goal was, I wanted to go to the NFL. And obviously I had a chance. I got picked up. What is it called? I got through free agency. I got on through free agency with the Vikings. But I was cut, I think, 3 months in. And I had to pivot, right? And so my whole thought was, okay, this happened. It can't define me. My failure at that level doesn't define who I am. I have to now redefine myself. And so how do I redefine myself? And so then that was when I kind of would put pen to pad and try to figure out, all right, well, how am I going to progress through banking? And I knew actually my position coach told me to get into banking. Because I was in a business school at UW. And when I was graduating with a real estate and urban land economics degree, it was kind of one of those things like, what do you want to do? And I didn't want to go back.
Hang on for a minute. What was your degree in?
Real estate and urban land economics out of the UW business.
Okay.
And so when I graduated, I didn't really know what I wanted to get into. And my academic advisor, which is still my advisor, Al Zussman, basically told me he wanted me to go into law. So I had my business degree, then I have a law degree. I just didn't want to go back to school. Not saying anything negative about anybody that is in school. I couldn't do another 2 years of school. It just wasn't my thing. And then I learned from my now father-in-law. At the time, he was my I interned for him. Learning that kind of on the field or on the site experience was almost like your master's. I was getting my master's by doing work, by being an intern. So I was by doing that actual necessary work of learning what a deal looks like, learning what a file looks like, learning how to put numbers together, understanding what debt to income is versus loan to value, putting together deals. That was my master's degree. I just did it at an earlier age. So
it's interesting listening to you. Sound like you were like strategic. Just I understand that you had a brand, and then you said put a pen to paper. So you actually kind of mapped it out. And we were joking earlier about your friends, how much you were running and saw you running like you're an athlete. I think it goes to show that your branding pivot worked. Right now, people don't see you as Jeff Mack, the UW athlete. They see you as Jeff Mack, the banker, Jeff Mack. I think so. Your branding clearly worked. And then you said you got a mentorship, right? So you said that you really found some mentorships, and mentorship really helped you develop your skill sets. Was when you were branding yourself, was there a time when you said, aha, my brand has changed? Like I'm shifted?
Maybe. Yeah, probably. There was a time when I felt like, but I think that was more predicated on my perceived success in my field, in my job. I thought it started to change because I was starting to be known from clients as a guy who could help figure out tough deals, and I thought that was a interesting time for me, and I thought it was a great time because I felt like I had accomplished something, right? I accomplished that goal. It's like I had real basic goals. I had basic goals too. I mean, buying a car by this age. Owning a house by this age, so on and so forth. And so my goal was just to accomplish those. And then it just became I'm trying to think of how to explain it, but I think I realized that I was on the right path because I was doing the things I wanted to do. So yeah, man, it was really interesting. It was a great learning lesson, but I had some pitfalls. I made some mistakes and over that time period too. But I think those all kind of help culminate where I'm at now, and how I was able to get out of that is kind of that's the growth piece. That's the growth piece, right? That's the way that you prove your success. I was on a call with a friend of mine, and he was talking about how everybody strives to be the best version of themselves, but the only way you understand or know if you are the best version of yourself is if you see yourself in a bad light. Like if you've made a mistake, like, okay, that's not the route you're supposed to go. So I think sometimes I pride myself, or I think a lot of successful people pride themselves. I'm not sitting here saying I'm successful. I'm just saying like what I've read. I think successful people pride themselves on making a mistake and then learning from that mistake and then never doing that mistake again. The goal is to constantly get better. That mistake you learn from, and that's part of who you are. That's part of what that's part of what makes you who you are today. And so the more mistakes I go through, the more, more routes I learn on how to navigate or how to get on or get off of. That actually, I think that all kind of puts a better it puts me in a better situation. That helps me become a better version of myself.
And I think all this comes back to sports, right? I mean, obviously, it looks like you had two amazing parents who put you in front of Black teachers. I've never heard anyone say that before, ever. And so we could talk about that forever, just dig into that part of it and how you came out of that.
Yeah.
And you thrived. You're a pretty good student from my understanding, right, in school.
Yeah.
So you did that. You branded, you worked at UW-Madison, you pivoted, you branded yourself, got into banking, you found some mentors. Was that intentional, finding the mentors? Did you do that intentionally, or did that just kind of fall in place?
Yeah, it was intentional. Well, it was intentional as much as a 21-year-old can make it intentional, right? Like the intentionality behind it was just trying to learn the business that I was going to be embarking on, and going into and embarking on, right? Like, and what I like, so this is the funny part, not funny, but this is like, I think the most interesting part about it is like, you find out through your mentors that they're just people.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I can do this. Because right, when you look at it from afar, right, you think of like a guy that owns all this real estate, 500 units of real estate, or a guy that's a top banker in the city. And I had a chance to work under and with the guy that was a top banker. at the respective bank I was at, M&I. I had a chance to be around real estate investors that own thousands of units to hundreds of units to so a plethora of different units. And through that mentorship, which somebody would perceive me as being a part of by sitting down, working for them for a little bit or learning from them, learning the tricks of the trade from them, we found out that like, oh, they're just individuals. They're just people. Like they make the same mistakes. They eat the same type of food. They got the same money issues sometimes. Like there's nothing really that much different than that. And then that allows you the ability to be like, oh, I can do this. I think too much of now is a lot of this is just because of just socioeconomics are just so kind of one-sided, and there's such a big gap between the wealth gap and things of that nature that you perceive the other side to be this extremely intelligent, extremely like financially savvy individual that you just don't think you have the pathways to get to where they're at. When you if you were ever able to actually sit down and have a conversation with them, you'd find a lot more similarities and differences. And regardless of race, color, gender, you find they're all going through the same things. They're all trying to map out or trying to achieve the same goals, which is being the best version of themselves. And through that lens, then you're able to understand like, oh, I can do this too. I just have to put the time, energy, and effort into it. And I think a lot of times that's the issue, is the time. And I think most people nowadays don't understand the time piece, that's the most important.
Yeah, time is valuable, right? You have to use your time the most effective way you can. So I want to come back to something, Jeff, because you're talking about mentors and everything, but let's just keep it real right now. You don't find a lot of Black men or Black people in general, or people of color in general, who go into the finance industry, and you had a real estate degree. Like that is one way I think we need more people of color doing that, right? Understanding finances in general, and like understand how finances work and how do you make money work for you and all the real estate. What made you decide to get in that lane? Was it mentors? Like what was it that pushed you into that lane of financing and real estate? Like how did that happen?
Yeah. So you're right? We don't find a lot of Black folk in banking, or especially at a high level, especially in the commercial side or in just the lending side. And so for me, it was, I kind of like being a little bit of a contrarian. I still have a BlackBerry. I got a pocket watch. I do some things that are a little outside the cuff.
Wait, hold up, time out. Did you say a pocket watch?
I do got a pocket watch. I got two of them.
Oh, boo. Gee.
Nah, it's not bougie. It's just, I just think it's a little time. But I'm also a big Sherlock Holmes fan. So I used to talk about how you always pull out a pocket watch, but that's a different conversation. But so anyway, or a conversation I don't want to have because I'll come across super corny. For me, it was a thought of, I read a couple books, and one of the books I read was Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt. And another one was, I think it was Booker T's Up from Slavery. Yeah, I think it was. And there was just this very heavy focus on finance being the key in a capitalistic system. And so if you understand how money works, then you can understand how to win that particular game. If you don't understand how money works and you're always guessing at it, and the more mistakes you make, the harder it can become, just from a trial and error perspective. So I wanted to learn, and then I found out, like, you read a couple books like the Millionaire Mindsets and Rich Dad Poor Dad, and you understand that, one of the biggest things is like just look for commonalities. Sorry. If you just look at commonalities, and commonalities are normally like most people that are wealthy or are well-to-do have some component of their portfolio tied to real estate. And I also thought real estate provided not just a budgetary influx of cash, but also provided taxable opportunities. And
okay, so stop. I want to stop you because you're speaking a language that a lot of people might understand. So portfolio, explain to portfolio. Portfolio means you have lots of things you're actually investing in, and real estate is one of them.
You may just have one thing, right? So your financial portfolio is just like kind of like a snapshot of your finances at this moment in time. So if your financial portfolio is just like your house and you got a savings account, that's your financial portfolio. Some people can have a wide-ranging portfolio, and some people have a very kind of narrow-focused portfolio. And I can tell you, the other thing that was always cool about my initial job in banking was on the real estate side. The more people I would meet, the more people I would see that do jobs that you didn't even know existed, or you didn't even know that was a profitable position to be in. And so I got a chance to learn that like you can do a lot in a lot of different ways, especially in America. So I remember I had a guy that he was a scientist, and so he could pour like sewer water or like bad water that had been contaminated, and he poured in this one system that they created, and the water that would come out would be white. I mean, not white. I'm sorry. The come out would be like regular water. And he would drink it, and it was because they knew that their filtration system was that good. And I just couldn't believe that because it just looked disgusting to me. I remember he did it in front of me, but I just found out like, oh, there's a lot of different ways to make some money in town. So, where was I going with that? I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, portfolio. Yeah, portfolio. So from a portfolio perspective, right? Like you can be narrowly focused in it. Where I know a lot of people that are very well off are just heavy invested in stocks or heavily invested in real estate. And then there are some people that have a myriad of different investments, right? Where you're in stocks, private investments, real estate, just depository relationships. And you may own your own business, right? So there's people that have that kind of wide-ranging life insurance policies, what have you. So you have this wide-ranging financial portfolio. You have this narrow portfolio. And so that's just kind of, the financial portfolio is just kind of an umbrella term for where is your money at? Where are your assets and liabilities at?
And you decided to focus on real estate, you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lens that you might know really well. And so that's where then you put the most amount of your dollars into. For me, I grew up from the mindset of multiple streams of income, which I know everybody kind of talks about. So it's like you have a day job that kind of pays your day job or your bills. You have a night job, or you have like the secondary income source, which helps pay for, but for me, it was real estate. So I owned some buildings, and, that helped me get into that. And then over time, if you can develop a little more cash, as you grow, you can put money into other pieces, stock market, 401k, private businesses, life insurance, to kind of diversify your portfolio. And some people think that's a good idea. Some people think it's an idea that's it's not all it's cracked up to be.
If you're gonna tell one of our listeners, Jeff, like 3 things that they could do to say they're just thinking about getting financing, right? Like they want to build a portfolio, or they want to think of strategy, or they want to think of investment. Like, what are the 3 things you tell them to do? Because I'm always amazed now is that stuff I didn't know. And that's because I had the people around me, right? So, and I'm talking black, white, whatever. So now I have people around me who talk money all the time, right? They talk about investing and read this book or whatever. And it's just I was on a walk the other day with someone. They were just talking about money and this and that. I'm like, it was just a natural conversation. I was doing it. And I recognize as black folk or people of color, we don't have those conversations all the time. Like, so if I'm someone who's thinking, a young Jeff Mack who's going out of college or even in high school, whatever, a young Jeff Mack is saying, I want to build a portfolio, or I want to become more aware of how to build a finance portfolio. Like you mentioned some books, Rich Man, Poor Man, The Millionaire Mindset. Like what are 3 things that you would tell people to do?
First off, so you said you went on a walk. So are you a headband and like a wristband walk guy? So are you like, how are you walking? Are you one of those like where you move your arms? Are you trying to hit us? How are you walking?
Oh Lord, give me the strength.
I just want to know. I'm gonna again. All right.
Miss Mac. I
Go
love
down
Miss Mac.
What type of music you be listening to? You probably listen to like goth rock or something.
Goth rock. Wow. Says a guy with a hand watch or whatever. Like, oh wow.
Oh,
come on.
Okay. Let me answer the question. I apologize. Answering your question. First thing is always try and invest in yourself, right? So develop your own skill sets. Whatever you think you want to get into, like learn your craft. I think we miss the boat sometimes because, in this kind of media culture and social media culture that we have, you see people doing something and you think, I can do it too. But you haven't put in the time, energy, and effort. I remember there was a show, 30 for 30, they talked about like sports they were talking about like NFL players going broke and stuff like that. And I remember Bart Scott said something that was really important is people people may see you on Sunday or Saturday, if you're a college player, but what they don't see, and they think like you hit the lottery, but what they don't know is like all the time from Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday that it took for you to get prepared and put in the necessary work to be able to perform at an optimal level. And so I think about that sometimes too for jobs. Like people think, oh, I want to be a doctor, or oh, I want to be a lawyer, or oh, I want to be, I want to be a banker. And they don't understand the time, energy, and effort that goes into, perfecting your craft. So one, I would say develop your skill, right, as much as you can. Two, I would say is, this is my own opinion, but I would say your first building you should own as an investment property. I think you should own a 2-unit or a 3-unit or a 4-unit if you can. I think financially there are ways, especially in Madison, especially in Wisconsin, that we have available for you to get into buildings like that with very minimal money down. I think we can speak to the historical issues that have permeated with regard to systemic discriminatory practices in real estate. But at this moment in time, there's not a better time than now to be able to try and jump into real estate. I'm not saying pricing right now is pretty frothy, but the opportunity to get in with leverage, meaning to use banks' money to get you into a property is excellent.
And what you say minimum amount? That's all relative. Right? What does that mean, minimum amount?
Minimal amount.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's certain financial levers that you can pull that allow you to get in with no money down at this moment in time, or get in with 3%. And I'm not talking FHA mortgages. I'm talking, WHEDA, Wisconsin Housing Economic
Development Authority.
Sorry. They have a program. We have programs at Park, and a myriad of different banks. I don't want to speak, specifically just about Park, but a lot of banks have opportunities and programs that allow people to get in with less money down. Because that real estate piece that actually allows you to build an investment that you can use down the road once your equity, or hopefully when your equity kind of grows, and you're growing that equity at the same time of you needing a place to live and have a roof over your head. So why not?
It's a cash flow too, right? Cash flow, and it's
on the investments on the multi-unit side. If you're buying just your house, the investment is more personal. It's more of a emotional investment.
Yeah, I was talking about the multi-unit home.
Right. You can, if you're gonna buy a house, why not have the ability to have people help you pay for that investment? So those are two things: investing in yourself and real estate. Then I would just say, I really think it's there's two ways to make money. Basically you continue to grow your profitability, you continue to grow your money that you bring in. The other piece though is what people don't talk about a lot, which is minimizing and mitigating the debt that you actually have to pay out, right? So the other thing is try to stay debt free. And I think these are just some simple methodologies to look at. The real estate side is a bigger one, but I think from the standpoint of just understanding and developing your own skill set and then mitigating your debt load, I think those are things that they seem like common knowledge, but I don't know who was it that said, but there's nothing more uncommon than common sense, where people tend to not do those two things. They tend to put those to the back burner, and they tend to always focus on just how much money can they bring in the door. And then when they bring in more and more money in the door, what they end up doing is they end up spending more and more to kind of live that lifestyle, to keep up with the Joneses. And I think if you can figure out ways to mitigate that, I think you'll be much further ahead than what you think. And I think the problem though right now that we have is there's it's so easy to post your best life. You know what I mean? I don't even know what they call it, like my best life or whatever. It's so easy to post that's what people want to focus on. And that kind of can put you in a bad place, because you gotta fake it to make it sometimes. And fake it to make it in that perspective normally means you have to buy it to flaunt it. So try not to do that.
Interesting. I mean, this is all interesting stuff. And I hope people listen to this, because I think this is stuff we don't talk about, finances and how to build finances and stuff. I mean, I think it's important, and having a financial strategy, right? So my guests listening to you have a financial strategy and goals, because it's not like you're really goal oriented. So it's like you must have a financial plan, a strategy where you're trying to go long term. Do you have are you just kind of feeling out?
It, so yeah, I mean, you have it initially, and then it kind of starts to take its own life. And so, you amass a certain amount of properties or stock or whatever, and now you try and focus it toward like other goals that aren't really tied into finance. You try to focus into like life, time, children. I have 4 daughters, so it's how much trying to figure out how do I put more time into being a part of their lives. Wife, it tends to be less about you as you grow and tends to be more about others. But at the same point in time, you've developed your brand, your business brand. So in order to focus on the others, you have to kind of keep growing yours, which tends to create real issues on time. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm stuttering a little bit with regard to, my financial goals or my financial plans. Like those are a little bit now on the back burner, but at the same point in time, they're necessary for the goals I'm trying to accomplish from a family perspective. So it gets convoluted, but I mean, I don't know. I have goals. Yes.
Makes sense, right? Like, and the older you get, like my goal right now is to be effective with my time, right? I want to be really effective with time. And I think that's like the end for me, for COVID ending and going away and all that stuff. One of my biggest challenges for people is having meetings in the community where I have to drive 20 minutes for a meeting, where I could just knock out 3 minutes on Zoom. You know what I mean? Like that's going to be my challenge.
Do y'all hear that? Do y'all hear that? I just want to make sure everybody heard that.
That's true.
Some of the most selfish stuff I've ever heard.
Hey, look at my hat. Look at my hat. Look at my house.
Listen long enough, he will come out.
Selfish ambition.
Yeah, first off, to write something on your head that says selfish ambition.
So don't say.
But go ahead. We'll continue. I digress. Go ahead. Move on. No, but so I have a question for you, right? Like,
all right.
But how do you, being the pillar in the community that you are, how do you navigate trying to have that plan, trying to curate that plan with sometimes individuals that have a different lens and have a different focus, right? How are you able to get everyone to see the same goal?
That's a deep question. See what you said about selfless, my hat voice, it's just burning in me. It was like, ooh, Miss Mack.
Yeah, I switched over. So now
yeah. Miss Mack, I wanna Kwame Brown, some of that mama's cooking. I just wanna, okay. But I'm gonna let it go. Go. So it's a good question. You know what I do, man? My faith is everything for me, Jeff. So what I try to do when I meet with people, man, is I try to be less of me and more of them. Meaning I always try to listen, make sure that I'm listening to them for their perspective. And I have to put my ego down and want to be right and try to listen, because sort of what you were saying earlier, you start listening to people, you start seeing the themes, right? And so when you start meeting with people, I don't care if they from wherever they are, they could be black, white, in the hood, the suburbs, whatever. If you really start to listen, and I learned this when I ran for office, right? That everyone has pain threshold, pain points, and everyone, so you start listening, they really have themes. Right now, their pain might come from different places, but they still have pain. So I've learned over the years to really listen. And then once I listen, try to solve a problem. It's a gift and a curse, always trying to problem solve, right? Because sometimes you need to slow yourself down and try to go through the process. I want to just jump and solve the problem.
Right.
My wife be the first one to tell you that, right? So it's like I try to listen, and then I try to figure out how I can solve the problem, right? So how can I help them do what they need to accomplish? And if I can do that, that helps my goal. So that's like my business model has been, let me breathe life into other people and let me see what they need to do and help them accomplish their goals. It's like from a business perspective, Jeff, would be, let me give my customers what they need and over deliver for them and make sure that they know I'm over delivering for them. And because of that, they'll be my reference. They'll refer me to other people. The business expand through that model. That's my, if we're talking from a business perspective, would be putting the customers first.
No, it's interesting because, I mean, a lot of times people say put their customer first, but I think there's always their own personal goals are basically at the forefront of that statement. That statement is just fodder, right? It's just stuff to say, just to try to win the client over. And I think, but I've always felt like you do a great job of listening and then helping that person reach their goals, or at least asking the questions that help them reach their goals. You know what I mean? I think that's always extremely important. So kudos to you. That's my last and only big up to you. I'm not doing it.
Okay. Oh yeah, right. See, I'm nervous. See, I'm waiting for the okie doke, right? I'm waiting for something. I'm waiting for that right hook.
It got a little dicey right there.
Right. Okay, I'm feeling uncomfortable. Something's coming. Okay. Before we go, Jeff, I have everyone the same question. If you could have any superpower, one superpower, what would it be?
I would probably say
be athletic.
I'm glad you better be so glad this camera's on. I would probably say my dad used to. This is older. My dad used to. He was a big Doctor Strange fan. I would appreciate Doctor Strange because my dad loved him. So I would probably say Doctor Strange. Try to be someone like Doctor Strange. For me as a child, I always wanted to be Spider-Man, just to fly through the city. So I would probably say, but I'd go with my dad, Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the superpower is. I think he was like a magician. He was just like, he could create anything, So
that fits you, a magician. That making stuff. Yeah, that fits.
It fits my
illusions. Yeah.
Illusionist? I think he did a pocket squirt or a pocket watch. So
I think he does. I think he does.
That's probably my speed. That's my speed. Actually, take it back. You know what I'd love to be? I'd love to have the ability. I talk about this often, but I'd love to have the ability to be more concise. So, like a person like a Sherlock Holmes or something like that, or like the real person is a guy named Charlie Munger, who's Warren Buffett's like right hand person. Like you see him speak and like he answers this multifaceted, multi-pronged question with like 2 sentences. And I always thought, but it encapsulates everything. And I always thought that was a skill set that I do not have, because I will talk your ear off. And so I apologize to everybody listening that this take longer than it should have.
Yeah, you went to West. We understand that. So, hey, thank you for everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Real Talk. And thank you for joining us. Thank you for our guest here, Jeff Mack. And if anyone wants more of this content, make sure you go to our podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
West is best.
Thank you again.
West hot.
We'll edit that out. And thank you again. We'll see you next time.
This is 365 Media.